Nearly 50% of Americans watch the game of basketball. Everyone's got an opinion. Everyone's a critic. But how many truly understand the game at a high level? Welcome to Passing the Knowledge with Khris and Chuck.
How's everybody doing? We're back for episode 2. We'll pass the knowledge with Khris and Chuck. We got a special guest today, Coach John Pearson. We call him JP. How you doing, JP?
Hanging.
If for those who don't know JP, legendary high school coach out in Charleston, South Carolina. I've had the luxury of working next to or under him for the last 2 years. We work at the same school over at Porter-Gaud, and I'm sure many have heard with Aaron going off in the Eastern Conference Finals. He's coached Khris Middleton, Nesmith, Josiah James, and we'll get into that a lot more during the episode.
So JP, you played at Tennessee State in college. A couple cool stories. You played Georgetown when Patrick Ewing was on the team. What was that like going against what would be an NBA great?
Wow, surreal. First, I got to change the legendary to lucky. I think I've been very, very lucky to have been able to coach some guys like this. But just running out there on the court with the Georgetown Warriors. It was in Puerto Rico, and I can just remember us being all fired up to play Georgetown. We're gonna find a way to beat Georgetown. All this stuff until we saw him run out on the court, and he ran right behind me, and right there I was just frozen. I was done for the night. It was fun. It was fun.
Not only playing against him, but you had a teammate, Anthony Mason, who made it to the NBA. You've also coached guys who have made it to the NBA. Do you see anything in these guys coming up that separates them from just a regular college player?
There's a certain dedication and there's a certain fierceness that they all have. I can just remember Anthony Mason was just a relentless defender, trash talker. He did not care who he was playing. He was just ready to go every single second. And I saw the same with Khris Middleton, who was slightly different. He was less outward with his aggression. But as I got to know him as a basketball player, he's ready to shred a defense in his brain every single second. Just no time off, no rest. He's looking to just dismantle whatever's in front of him. And then Aaron he's just a beast. I don't even know what to say about him. Aaron Nesmith. He's from another planet.
How about our third guy, the youngin, Josiah?
The youngin Josiah is not yet in the NBA. He has the talent, and he also has a certain amount of fierceness, a certain amount of dog in him. I would have to call him off players. When he was in high school, he would just get fixated, and he just wanted to go at somebody over and over and over. And I just wanted to make sure he's going to be able to finish the game.
Yeah, that's just their competitive nature. I've got the luxury of meeting all three in the past 2-3 years, and they're all great people outside the lines. Exactly what you want to teach, right? And that starts at home and great families, and then you put them inside the lines, and like you said, this monster comes out, and that's special, man. That's something.
It's crazy how that works.
Yeah,
and that's why I say I'm lucky.
Yeah.
You meet them on the street. You could tell that they probably play sports. They got athletic builds. They're tall, but nice as human beings when you meet them. Then when they cross that inbounds line, when they play, they turn into something a little bit different. And that was also fun to watch. It was fun to coach.
No doubt. I'm going to give you a quick Mace story and then shout out our area. We're from the New York, Connecticut area, the tri-state. But I actually grew up playing AAU against Mace's son. which I don't think we've talked about yet. And one of my best mate stories is we played each other in the IS8, and then we played each other in the CYP tournament, or CYO it was, in like Westchester County area. And there's this little YMCA gym, and like a lot of our gyms up north, especially YMCA's, have like a track, indoor track up top. So like it's tough to shoot corner threes in a lot of those gyms. And this court was so tight, like people would stand on the side. So Anthony Mason, being the big dude he is, like I guess wanted to stay away from the crowd and get out a little. He tried to sit in the doorway in a chair. But I always tell people the story, he was so wide, his shoulders, that he had to sit with his chest like this and watch the game sideways in the doorway, just because, you know what I mean? He was a beast. He was a beast. And just being a youngin and watching those Knicks teams, man, I'm a Kobe fan, to make that very clear. We'll talk about that, man. But growing up and watching a lot of those like old 90s and early 2000 Knicks teams, they were always tough. They were always, like you said, just junkyard dogs. And I know that's, you know what I mean, a lot of what you preach.
Yeah.
Tell us what JYD means, man. What does that mean to you?
It's a philosophy that it's funny how we came up with it. So the story is, and it's a true story, I was riding my bike and I went down in a neighborhood I normally don't go in. I've never been there, and I said, let me go sightsee. So I'm riding and I hear the jingle of a dog collar. And I'm looking around, and all of a sudden, to my right, I see a dog that's running 100 miles an hour at me while I'm riding the bike. And it was not happy. And I took off. And its boundaries was where he thought his boundaries was, and he stopped running. And I said, I'm not going back that way. And so I rounded the corner, and I heard another dog collar and growl. I turned back around, and I looked down that street, and that same dog was looking at me right in the middle of the street and was not moving.
You and me.
So I decided, okay, this could be bad. I might get mauled, but I got to get out of here. So I just aimed my bike right at the dog, and I took off. And I'm picking up speed like crazy. And I think this dog has done this before, because it literally got out of the way, took a runway start to keep up with me, and then came back. And he was inches from my ankle, but I was moving. And so it reached its area, and I thought, I'm never going back down that street in my life ever again. And I said, you know what? I think I want my kids to be like that.
Yeah.
I don't know if I necessarily won that one. I got out without dog bites, but I wanted my kids to have an understanding that that junkyard dog that night let me know not to come back. So we started using that as a philosophy. It doesn't matter how good you are. We don't have to be thoroughbreds. We can be, but we don't have to be. We don't have to master anything about basketball. We just have to have a mentality about us, and we have to compete to the point that even if thoroughbreds walked in our gym, they're going to know we're protecting this place. We may lose. They're going to know they were in a fight. That's the philosophy. Junkyard dog. We protect our house. We do everything within our power to do that. And the other team's going to know that we're in a fight. And we know you're not welcome back here. I mean, you might come back, but you can be in another fight. So that's the mentality that we bring. Like, kids don't have to be accomplished basketball players at Porter-Gaud. It's actually kind of fun when maybe they're not accomplished basketball players, but they grab the philosophy, the mentality of competing against whoever walks in the gym. The one thing I just dislike is when you're playing against somebody good, they put you down early, and then you get brave. You already lost the game, now you're brave. Don't like that. We may play a team that comes in here that is really good. They're not going to put us down so quick. And that's kind of the kids we want to develop.
you kind of talked about this mentality, not only with the three guys that you coach, but also talking about the junkyard dog mentality. Do you think that's something that comes natural to them, or do you think that's something that they had to develop? Have you tried to teach that?
A lot of them, it's a learned method to play. Specifically, these guys, Aaron, Josiah, Khris Middleton, big kid named Jake. They had a mentality in them already. They brought to the court that they're going to make you know them before the game's over. And then, there are some kids that have the capability, but sometimes their confidence level is not high enough to say, okay, these guys are really, really good. They're supposed to beat us. And then stuff happens that we don't want to see happen. We're just trying to show them, teach them, get them to understand. It doesn't matter who walks through that gym. You might lose, but you need to make sure they know that it's a problem, that when you come in this gym, you're going to have to really do some damage to beat me. And sometimes we come out on top. Sometimes we win it. And that's sort of the way we look at it.
Looking around the room, obviously a awesome office, place that you're in a lot, and you get to see all the cool jerseys that signed, the players that you got to coach. But also, we see pictures of your daughter. Your daughter played here at Porter, and you weren't necessarily her coach, but you were coaching at the time. She also played at Charleston. What has that been like, your father-daughter relationship there, but also you trying to push her and coach her and try to teach her that dog mentality?
Well, she's a real junkyard dog. She scares me sometimes. That really, truly has been a real pleasure for me as a coach, mostly as a dad, to see her actually like the sport, want to excel at the sport that I like. I feel like a lot of times maybe a son, daughter might want to try something else. She took to basketball, and then she was able to play next level as a walk-on at the College of Charleston, and eventually earned a scholarship in her third year. I can't tell you how great it felt to watch her play basketball, like basketball, and she was a pretty good player. I got to give a shout out to her coach, Kevin Zyman, who did a good job with her in her high school career. But you can't really do anything with any kid that doesn't want to do it. And she truly wanted to do it, and she's doing a good job. She did a good job, and now she's a coach. She's doing a good job.
Just to piggyback off of that, and that's something that we share being grown dads. And I always think I tell you that, I'm hoping to go through those stages, whether it's basketball, whether it's softball, whether it's soccer. I would love to be not the coach on the sideline, but the dad and enjoy it. And then if she needs help, if my girls want to get pushed in training or practicing, I'll do whatever I have to. YouTube videos, get the right person.
It is crazy fun.
It's an exciting thing. With that being said, I've had the luxury of coaching with Elise this past year. And right away knew meeting her, she would be a great coach. Just has a great temperament in the gym, great with the kids. But also I knew she was a grinder as a player, right? And there's just something about someone who loves being in the gym, someone who loves putting in that time, right? Like you hear the term gym rat thrown around loosely, right. But how many gym rats are there, right? And Elise is one of those. Like after a full day of school, after a full day of having training or stuff for herself, working, she'll come in the gym for the next 2-3 hours and get it done. Or she'll be the first one in the gym with some girls early in the morning and then go get her stuff done. So a lot of kudos to you guys, and a lot of kudos to you because I think you were a big example for her. But just talk to me about how that's flipped for you a little bit, just watching her as a player and now seeing her start her coaching career.
Oh, it's been, I realize a lot of times that your child tries different things and wants to be somewhere else. She went to the same college I went to, That really surprised me. And then now she's in the coaching profession. That surprised me as well. Watching her transition from player to coach, I think the best thing that I see, the most fun thing that I see, is a certain hunger she has to try to be a good coach. And I mean, she coaches with you, and what I've noticed is you'll give her a big plate, which is awesome, and she wants to fulfill these things on that plate. And there are things sometimes she might not get or understand, doesn't want to let you know because she wants you to know she understands. So she'll come to me and ask me what that means, and I'm always trying to answer it, but I'm always saying, you need to just make sure you follow the lead, especially in places where you might not understand. Follow the lead of the head coach, which is you. And she never gets the sense that she's tired of it. She's finished. She got it all. She's trying to soak it up and trying to add to it, which means she wants to be a learner, and then she wants to try to execute what she's learning on the court with her players, and loves seeing the kids get better. It's ultimately, especially in high school, not really about us. It's ultimately about what the kids want, how successful they want to be in their sport, how much time they want to put in on it.
Sir, agree.
Now going to our player of the week. Pretty fitting that you have coached him, but I think Aaron Nesmith is a great candidate, considering not only did he shoot 50, 40, 90 throughout the season, which was very quiet because not many people talk about that, but he's shooting 50% from the floor, 50% from three, 89% from the free throw line during the playoffs, which I'll be at 90 just for the club.
Just to be clear, only like 13 players in the NBA ever have had a 50, 40, 30s, 50, 40, 90 season. So like Aaron's one of, you know what I mean?
And he's on a list with Larry Bird. I was like, hey,
Kevin Durant,
hey man,
Steph Curry, like those names. Aaron's, I think, been a sharpshooter since he was at Vanderbilt, since he was at Porter, really, right? Shot 52% his sophomore year at Vandy. Has he always, in your eye, been a knockdown shooter, or would you say more here at Porter he was all around? Like, I know we talked about Khris, and Khris was just a scorer. That's what he did. Josiah was an all-around baller. You could put him at the point. You could put him at the four. He did a little bit of everything, right? 6'7" guard. What would you say Aaron's game was his junior season?
Interesting you said that. Aaron's game, we could talk a lot about stats and his skill level. That really doesn't make up who he is as a basketball player. There's other things that makes him up as a basketball player. But the one thing I will say when I'm talking to you about this specific question is Aaron. I got to tell you a story, and then you'll understand.
Yeah.
Aaron, as an 8th grader, played on the JVs, and I was the coach that year. I don't think I had a JV coach that year. And Aaron was always a willing defender. Got into some foul trouble because he's just so physical, even at that age. But offensively, he was not showing what he actually really was. And I think it was due to the fact that all my JV guys were very inexperienced and very young and all trying to find out what they are. I didn't know he was a laser accurate shooter until Travis Smith, who also I coached and played overseas basketball.
Travis, the best coaches in the area.
Travis Smith came home from overseas playing basketball and helped me with my varsity as we got into the playoffs. Usually right around that time, I pull up a couple JVs. I pulled Aaron up as an 8th grader, put him on the varsity. and he had his first practice with us. He had a great shooting day. If I remember correctly, I know he made 3 threes from the corner in our short scrimmage. We weren't practicing very long, 3 in a row. And I was like, wow, I just had this guy for a whole season in JV, and he didn't do that. And I was okay, maybe he had one of those days. It was a good day. The next day, same thing. This dude was not missing shots, and it was helpful that I had a very skilled adult, giving him the pass at the right place at the right time, Travis. The third day, I'm kicking myself because I had a knockdown shooter that I did not know I had.
The 8th grader, you said, right?
And he was in 8th grade, just was not missing. And the rest of his career, I just felt like he was hot. Every practice, every game,
45 years.
the dude was making all kinds of shots, and it was so. He was doing it so often that I was afraid he was going to get bored. This was probably midway his junior year, and so I said, "All right, Aaron, during the course of a game, I want to see if you can make 3 in a row. Just don't miss." Okay. And I wasn't telling him to shoot 3 in a row and leave his teammates out. I was saying for him, as shots came to him in between everybody else's shots, don't miss. The very first game, he did it. And there was also one game, I said, he hit a shot right in front of me. And as he backpedaled back, I was just trying to keep this guy from getting bored because he just constantly was making baskets. So I told him while he was on the court, I said, yeah, I bet you can't do it using glass. The next possession, he's right in front of me again, gets it, glass, and looks at me like, you knew that was stupid, And so I upped it to 4. And then one game, I upped it to 4 in a row, first and second half. And it only took him 2 games to do it. And I just said, you know what, let me leave this guy alone. I'll find something else.
Special.
Yeah, it was just, he was just so accurate. And it meant something to him. He very accurate for the free throw line. There was one game he missed 3 free throws in a game. And so the coaching staff was like, what's wrong with Aaron? What's going on? We're talking about a 4-year varsity experience, and one game he misses 3, and we asked what's wrong with it.
You're human.
So it was a Friday night game. Saturday morning, he calls me and says, Coach, I just finished shooting 1,000 free throws. It's like, okay, that's good. What? He said, I just shot 1,000 free throws. I forgot his percentage. It was way up. His percentage was way up. But I was like, Aaron, that'd have been cool if you went in there and just shot 50 and, felt good about the shot. But he said missing 3 is never going to happen again. I don't think it has. But that's just what he is. He's just very skillful, knockdown shooter for his entire career, his entire high school career.
We had a really cool past week. You got to go to Indianapolis and watch the Pacers play, watch Aaron play. How's that experience?
Oh, man, it's surreal. I try to fight back tears when I see these guys do stuff like what they're doing out there on the floor. And just to see him contribute on an NBA team and be a major contributor, they need him. It's just surreal to me, just watching him do his thing while he's out there with an NBA team.
Best players in the world. I got to bring up the OG, man, because he was more around my high school years too, and watching Khris grow the way he did from Texas A&M and to be drafted, I believe it was by Detroit. And a lot of people, right, correct me if I'm wrong, right away thought he's a second-round pick and he might be able to score a little bit, but we don't know if he's going to be a player. And then, lo and behold, you got an NBA All-Star, NBA champion. if not the best player on that Bucks championship team. He was a big reason they won that championship. Um, just I'm big on guys who paved the way, right?
Right.
And I think Aaron and Josiah had someone to look up to, right? They had a goal to reach. And I always say this place is special. And you could say it's lucky, but you're a big reason of it. But would you say Khris kind of like paved the way for those guys? They always looked at Khris as, I got to get there. I want to be that or better.
No question.
Yeah.
Especially Aaron wanted to prove to Khris he could play.
Yeah.
Chris's story slightly different. He wasn't, physically put together at the time. Also laser accurate. Chris's game was just incorporated so much more. And I would have to talk to him about his IQ level. It's not going to be what his teammates' IQ level is. And he might have to dial some of that stuff back. Instead of leading a kid to a layup, throw it straight to the kid because that kid may not know he's open.
Okay.
So it's things like that. But Khris definitely has paved the way and comes back and helps them both immensely. I mean, just he comes back, he works out in the summertime. These guys work out with him when they're in high school with him. Khris was something else. His development was a little bit different. He was what I would call a good high school player, and then in 2 months became ridiculous. He just went to an AAU tournament, and I kept getting phone calls about Khris Middleton. And at first, I'm like, yeah, he's good. He's going to be good. Yeah. And I kept getting these calls. I jumped in the car, and I drove to Clemson to see his last game. And I couldn't speak. The dude, he was different.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like I had another kid, a different kid. Khris has been really a big brother to these guys, and it has made their journey a lot easier. It's not easy, but he's made their journey a lot easier into the business of the NBA.
Going to full time out now, just talking about things we got going on. We had mentioned the Harbor View Presbyterian Church. We're going to get in there Fridays for the month of June. We're also going to add the day of Sunday, I believe 11:30 to 3:30.
Yep. So we got some times early in the day on Sundays, right after church, and on Fridays we're going to try to go in the evening. But if you got younger kids or even kids that can't necessarily always pay for private training, group trainings, we try to help some kids out that need it and that are serious about their game. Other than that, we'll be starting a camp, me and myself and Coach JP here at Porter for all ages co-ed, right? We'll go young all the way up through middle school. Charlie will be helping us out, but just super excited about getting a second or third summer in. And it's special, man, as we said, like there's been a big culture in the summer built around here that I've kind of walked into. And you just see it from the younger kids' excitement up when they get to meet these NBA guys, when they get to support where Tennessee and Vandy, Texas A&M stuff, or now their NBA stuff. But just how genuine and just how humble all three of those players are. Again, I can't emphasize enough. It's just something you got to experience. So please, in the next few weeks, contact any of us. I'll reach out to our auxiliary program. We would love to help your kid out or help whoever we can, the kid you know. Just make sure they're in the right hands.
JP, what you got going on? Nothing?
Nothing.
Chilling? Yelling at some kids?
A lot of basketball. Gonna be yelling at some kids, trying to find that next Khris Middleton, Aaron Nesmith, Josiah James. We're just gonna have a blast in teaching that junkyard dog.
Going on now to the leader of the week. There wasn't much going on, but I think one guy who JP isn't too familiar with, but Kai Cenat, definitely an up-and-coming influencer, one of the biggest streamers in the world. I'm pretty familiar with him through like TikTok and stuff like that. But what he's been doing is something called Streaming University. He had about a 4-day long weekend, got a bunch of streamers together, like a couple hundred, put them through classes, put them through all this stuff, just trying to put them on, which I think is something that's really important. Selflessness, I think it's not common enough. But he's someone who's just trying to put people on, trying to use his platform for good, use his influence for good. So definitely shout out Tyson Nat. So he's been compared to Kevin Hart, like a young Kevin Hart, which is kudos to him on that. But he's a funny dude. But shout out to him.
As Charlie said, just piggybacking off of that, I'm just a big fan of people who reach this point, right? The status, and they never forget about like where they came from, and guys helping kids, helping young guys, girls, whatever in their realm and in their streaming world, kind of get a face and a name. And not only that, he's shouting out young artists, young rappers, young athletes. He's building this community, man, that I think our world period could just use a little bit more of. So yeah, shout out to Kai, man. Keep that going. Keep it up.
I think to end off our awesome podcast with you, JP, let's talk some basketball shit. I think it's time to get into the shit. Get into it.
So, what you want to talk about? That's what I want to hear.
I mean, let's hear MJ Kobe. I think that's something that kind of was brewing before.
All right, so I'm gonna talk because then this is what he does. He's gonna coerce the listeners into hearing what he's saying. Right? He's really good at that experience, right?
There's only one opinion.
So listen, it's not an argument. This is just where my facts come in, and then I'm gonna let the big dog speak. Michael Jordan, like Wilt Chamberlain, at his time was an anomaly, right? And what I mean is, at the time that Wilt came around, no one had ever seen anyone like him. Could you say that? A 7-footer that could move, that could run, had the strength, had the touch, had the hands, and then here comes a 6'6", 6'7" wing and Michael Jordan, who we hadn't seen anybody that had that total package, that had the ball handling, had the finishing with both hands, even though Kobe's left hand was better. Had the shooting, the post moves, the footwork, everything. Mike had the total package. Gilbert Arenas, I think, has a great line where he calls him prototype one. But then came Kobe, man, and for me, and I know it's definitely a biased eye, and just to put it out there for those who don't know me, my middle name is Jordan. So born in 91 and throughout the 90s, that was shoved in my face and my family. But I couldn't be denied, or Kobe couldn't be denied as far as my eye. And I'm just watching the game and just understanding like his path of, right? Like kind of like these NBA kids now, like LeBron's kid, like Scottie Pippen's kid. What drove Kobe to be great? What drove him? He wasn't living in the hood per se. He didn't not have a pretty good life, but he moved from Italy to Philly. Things just never were normal for him, and I just think his obsession for basketball is just second to none. And I think just out of all of those guys, and you could throw LeBron in there, he's got the cleanest game. A lot of people like to call out ball hog, but if you're the dude on the court that's got the best chance to make the shot, I gotta go with that guy. And then everybody throws out Shaq. Well, 2 rings without Shaq. So that's my argument. Kobe Bryant is the GOAT. Will always be my GOAT. But big dog, the floor is yours. You let us know, man.
Kobe Bryant, awesome player, not the GOAT. LeBron James, awesome player, not the GOAT. The GOAT is that number 23 for the Chicago Bulls. That was expected to do the hardest thing in basketball, that score a bunch of points every night against teams that were preparing for him every day. And he did it 3 times in a row, twice in 8 years. I don't think that can be touched. Here's another thing that I don't think that can be touched. And I watched him, and I watched LeBron, and I watched Kobe. I'm mostly an eyeball guy. I need to see how they affect the game. Stats alone just don't do it. But when I hear that he was the leading scorer in the finals, the leading scorer in the season, first team all defensive, and 1-time defensive player of the year. I forgot there's one more big stat. All in one season has only been done 4 times. Mike, and Mike. When I get that kind of information, I can't see past it. It's just hard.
That's fair, but my whole perspective on it is that over the years, through I think it's mostly through like the internet, social media, how you can watch these guys manipulate, like learn all these moves. So guys are getting better. That's my whole point. The entire landscape of the NBA has changed. We talked about on our previous pod. The worst teams are good. They can beat you on any given night, and so the talent is only getting better and better. And then you get a guy who's 6'9", 250, can pass like magic, plays hard defense during the playoffs, not in the regular season. Has the most total points of all time. I think longevity is important. I don't think you can just throw that off the table, but has made it to the finals 9 times. You think if MJ and that Bulls were playing against Kevin Durant and Steph Curry's Warriors, they'd win 6 finals?
There's actually, I just saw this 2 days ago. I'm not a big computer guy. I don't even really understand AI. But they input the information from AI. The Bulls beat the Golden State Warriors out of 100 times played. The Bulls beat them 89 times.
I'm not gonna go off AI.
Well, here's the thing. Don't go off AI. Don't go off AI. No, I am not telling anybody AI means somebody's better than somebody. What I am saying, yes, LeBron has gone to the finals, 10 times? He lost 6.
Against who?
With handpicked teams, by the way.
Well, here's what I'll say. You can look it up. Michael Jordan had to beat more 50-win teams than anybody to get to the championships where he went.
I'm gonna look that up because the Western Conference was unbelievable when Kobe and them were winning.
One game.
Unbelievable.
No, okay, Kobe. That's different. Kobe LeBron, one game. LeBron, one game.
But he
One series. Sorry,
and just
one
because
series.
my man Chuck brought up the Warriors, who's an unbelievable team. Don't get me wrong. I still think the 2010 Celtics, Ray Allen, Kevin Garnett, Paul Pierce, and a prime Rondo is better than that team. That's in my opinion. Then what I didn't say earlier about the whole prototype one is for those who are confused about what I was saying about Jordan being an anomaly and Wilt, they were ahead of their times. At the time that Kobe dominated, which is a time that LeBron was in the NBA for a few years, the wing position was at its strongest. That's for me. And again, you've watched more, Mike, and you watched more late 80s, early 90s basketball. But I felt like every team had a great big and then had a really good point guard, the top teams. And then the wings were, you had your Clyde here. You had a Larry here, but Larry's teams were unbelievable. The Pistons were unbelievable. And that goes to one of my other points against Mike. Without Rodman, how many times did he win?
3.
He won 3 without Rodman?
And what was he doing in his early years? Getting beat up by the Pistons?
By the Pistons.
And who did the Pistons have?
Zeke, maybe Joe Dumars.
Mike lost early in his career, just like LeBron.
Yeah.
Kobe was shooting air balls.
Hey, he was on a really good team.
He was shooting air balls, though.
Okay.
This is the only thing with Kobe. He did have the biggest monster that's NBA has ever seen.
There goes the Shaq argument, y'all. Yes, I agree.
That was a monster.
They needed each other, though, no?
The one thing about LeBron, he had to leave.
Chris Bosh.
He had to go to a 2-time champion,
Kyrie.
pull in another guy, and they lost the first year, and he melted down. Am I right or wrong?
You're right.
MJ didn't go anywhere else, never melted down. Had a rough one. I'm going to admit. Hold on. He had a rough one when he came back and he played Orlando. He had a turnover that was not very good at the end of the game. Okay. What did he do when they lost that series? Went to the weight room the next day, ready to get that thing back. Then they won 3 in a row again. I don't know how you can anybody can say that guy is second to somebody.
Charlie said he wanted to go play baseball, so I think that was his crack.
He did. His dad.
You think that
His
was more
dad.
the dad?
I think it was
That's
part
why I
of it
haven't mentioned
was
too much in the argument.
he says
I
I have nothing else to prove, and his dad it sort of
his
took
favorite
him. It was his dad's favorite sport, and it took him out of basketball a little bit. The love brought him back, and I think the Kobe is a prototype of Mike. That's not saying he's not as good as Mike. What I'm saying is Mike did stuff before Kobe did stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I can't imagine Mike having a monster on the interior. I can't imagine it. I can't imagine it.
Dennis Rodman is a monster, not necessarily
He's a monster.
offensively.
Was he a Shaq monster?
No. What about Scottie
But he
Pippen?
always has
Scottie Pippen. Let's talk about Scottie Pippen because a lot of people like to say Scottie Pippen. Scottie Pippen. Scottie Pippen's first year came off the bench. Not very good. The next, when he started growing up as a basketball player in those Detroit series, I can still remember being so upset with Scottie Pippen. 2 points in the first half, 2 points in the second half, and I got a headache. I'm telling you, I watched it. When I
His
knew
first 2-3 years, right?
when I knew Michael Jordan was better than everybody I'd ever seen in my life, because at the time it was Magic Johnson I thought was the GOAT. Before that, it was Dr. J.
Mm-hmm.
Mike wasn't it. I was starting to follow him heavily. They played the New York Knicks, and the Knicks were killing them. I'm talking physically, just beating them up, and they were down 0-2 in the series. I said, I'm looking at how this game is going. They're gonna lose. 4 in a row. I said that's the best basketball player I've ever seen in my life.
It's not all Mike.
It's
like a team thing.
It's all Mike.
I was all Mike. One of the things that I think is contradictory to the Mike argument is, I mean, the years that he went and played baseball, the Bulls went to the Eastern Conference Finals to a Game 7.
50.
I got an argument for that.
Game 7, and that's where they lost. So
they say LeBron makes people better?
Yeah, they say it.
That's what they say, right?
Yeah.
When LeBron leaves, what happens?
When he's on the team with them, he makes them better.
So Mike was on the team with them and didn't make them better?
Apparently not.
Absolutely.
He didn't. They won.
Again, it made the team.
Then when he left,
my point
the
is
team is good enough.
His teammates were better than they get credit for.
100%.
I can do that.
Tony Kukoc.
But I can't take any
6'7", 6'8", like point forwards, if you may. Steve Kerr knocked down. He was second after John Paxson.
I cannot take that away from them.
Armstrong is a solid point guard. After that, Ron Harper, who was a 20
But this is what gets me. This is what gets me the most.
And then always a big.
LeBron James is on a team that goes to the finals, and everybody's trash except him. I can't accept that.
Oh no! Listen, I'm not on the LeBron boat.
No, I am not saying y'all said it.
I get you.
I hear that.
Yeah.
He took a team that's trash to the finals. He took a team that's trash. No, they went to the finals. Those are NBA players that are in the finals.
Well, the first couple of years in the league, when he was on the Cavs, what was it? Ilgauskas.
You were young, so you don't
All-Star.
disrespect them.
All-Star.
All-Star. Daniel Gibson, right around an All-Star.
All-Star.
Mo Williams. An All-Star. Averaged 17 a game 2 years prior to LeBron coming.
My assertion is this: you cannot be trash if you're in the finals.
Are they anywhere compared to Scottie Pippen?
No, they're not.
Rodman,
no, they're not.
That team
I will. Right, but I'm saying they are not trash.
Do you remember?
They're good players.
Kobe's 2010 team that beat the Celtics with Pau Gasol, Ron Artest, those guys.
Yeah.
Can you name anybody after Pau Gasol,
No.
Ron Artest?
That's what I'm saying.
That was 15 years ago.
Kobe deserves all the credit.
Derek Fisher was on that team.
He deserves a lot of credit.
Kobe had to change in guard.
I like Kobe. I actually like LeBron. There's a couple things that he says that I'm getting tired of. But
why is he pulling out the scissors while talking about LeBron?
Because I'm cutting them.
They just cutting them.
Cutting them from my list.
By the way, Kobe, what you figured out this year without me shoving it in your face, has more all defensive teams than any of those guys.
Yes, he does. Yes, he does.
So
he's a
can shoot
defender.
the three, the best out of those three?
No.
Mike shoots the three better?
No, I think there's a separation of a point something. That's probably two
Now I'm
shots.
talking about shot difficulty and being able to make them.
Shot
You just
difficult.
said numbers don't matter.
Okay, shot difficult.
Steph Curry shoots
I can't-
40%.
I can't sit here and say anybody.
43s.
I can't say anybody had more difficult shots than Jordan because he's the most scouted player ever.
Okay.
But he wasn't.
I'll take
Now,
that as a coach.
Kobe's a
Most
scout.
scouted player.
Kobe's scouted and LeBron is scouted.
But
But
listen,
here's my knock on LeBron.
the Celtics weren't worried about.
You can make him
Gasol
pass
and
that. You
KG.
can make him pass that ball at the end of the game. You ain't making Mike pass that ball.
They make it Kobe. They make it Kobe.
Yeah, but I feel like LeBron's mentality is I want to make the right play, and most of the time,
I got you there too.
most of the time it's him taking the shot. But there are a few select times where he does pass it out to 40% 3-point shooters when they need a three. He's driving, kicking, drawing 4, and hitting Danny Green in the corner. Danny Green probably missed it, but there's like he's making the right play.
What about,
Let me.
what
Can
about
I want to
players
address
that
the
you
right
won't-
play.
that you won't mention that LeBron basically coerced into super teams, like Bosh and Wade. You don't think that it should have done better than 2 for 4 in the
Luka.
finals?
100%.
Like, before Luka even, right? Like Kyrie Irving went and sought him out.
Kevin Love was a
Kevin
killer.
Love, like those players sacrificed their individual stats to win, but a lot of that was, you know what I mean?
Here's my thing about the
LeBron
right.
recruiting them.
Here's my thing about the right play.
Right.
Here's my thing about the right play. If you win 6 championships in 8 years, you made a lot of right plays.
You're damn right.
You made a lot of right
You
plays.
win 4 out of 10.
If you win 4 out of 10, you got there
I
10
was
times.
amazed.
You made a lot of right
Well, I
plays.
should have taken a couple of
But I'm
shots.
thinking maybe you should have took a shot.
Yeah, maybe that's a good place to end it. There's no argument there. No argument there. I appreciate you having me on, JP. Fun time.
I appreciate y'all.
Thank you, JP, man.
PTK, we out. Appreciate y'all.
Episode 2.